is ourStarBlazers.com. And as of now, there are well over 1,000 pages of content going all the way back to the beginning. In this panel, I can only hit the highlights of the last 2 years, so if this gives you the itch to see more, it's all online. The last time I did this panel, the first run of Yamato 2199 had just ended on TV in Japan. I mean, that exact weekend. And the final episode had a special announcement. Coming in 2014, completely new feature film. That movie has come and gone, and the series is officially over. But plenty of other things have happened during that time, and they will continue to happen for some time to come. First thing I'm going to tell you about is the Yamato Sound Almanac CDs. This was a huge remastering project from Nippon Columbia that started in the summer of 2012 to upgrade the entire music catalog and pull everything out of the vault, including stuff we hadn't heard before. There was a total of 30 CDs in the series, and the last third came out from September 2013 through March 2014. They're all still available, and some are even on iTunes now under the name Star Blazers Sound Almanac. And we recently learned that Columbia is not quite done with them, so you'll be hearing a little more about that later. This is one of 2 books from Dengeki Hobby magazine. This is the launch volume of Yamato 2199. It was published in October 2013. And this is the return volume from August 2014. They both reprint articles from the monthly magazine. Unfortunately, that magazine is no more. There have been some battles going on in the hobby community over the past year, and Dengeki had to give it up. So their final issue was published this past spring, and now they are strictly a website called Dengeki Hobby Web. They still track Yamato news there, and when the next big thing starts up, this is going to be a site to watch. When we last left off, Bandai was in the process of releasing all the original Yamato movies on Blu-ray. And in late 2013, they finished with fantastic versions of Be Forever Yamato and Final Yamato that worked out all the bugs and gave us the best transfers we could have asked for. So if you've been waiting for the perfect edition, it exists. That was followed by the rest of the MVs, which stands for music video. There was one for each of the original movies, and this is the first time that they've been available in about 30 years. At this point, the only classic Yamato still to come to Blu-ray is Series 2 and Series 3. This is a 2199 book called Yamato Plan. It's from October 2013. It's sort of a dossier of the entire mission to Iskandar as told in Yamato 2199. It's not quite like an all-in-one Roman album, but there are lots of other books to fill those gaps. And here's one of them from the same month, which is a collection of all the design work for the Gammalus side of the story. That's a slipcase, and that's the book cover. And there's a separate volume for the Earth side that came out earlier, and they're both still the best sources you can find for the design art. And now we're on to 2014. This turned out to be a pretty amazing year in Yamato history, since we spent the entire time counting down to the new movie. This item isn't really a big deal, but I thought it deserved to be seen here at AWA. It's flexible, it's rubber, it's a bat. It's a flexible rubber bat. Who knows the next line? And the world trembled. This was the one and only attempt so far to bring 2199 to America. They retitled the show, but they stopped there and kept everything else intact. Unfortunately, they crashed into some harsh realities along the way, and they didn't finish. They put out 4 volumes with 4 episodes apiece, and they only got up to episode 16 out of 26. The good news is, you can finish it with the Japanese volumes 5, 6, and 7. You have to overlap by 2 episodes, but everything else is subtitled, and it's worth every penny. Okay, time for a quiz. Who recognizes this artwork? Couple? How about this? How about this? How about that one? How about that one?
Yeah.
And that one. All right, what do they have in common? Anybody know? The same artist, right. The artist's name is Noriyoshi Orai. He's one of Japan's top painters of SF movie posters and book covers. And among other things, he's the go-to guy for a lot of Star Wars publishing. I bring him up because he had a big gallery show in February 2014, which included this painting. Before that gallery show, it was unknown that Yoshinobu Nishizaki, the original creator of Yamato, had commissioned Orai to do this in 1978 for the release of Arrivederci Yamato. And this one too. So why didn't we see them until now? Well, according to Orai, Nishizaki didn't think they looked enough like the anime, so he didn't use them. And this book came out in November 2014, titled Green Universe. It's got all the images I just showed you, plus many, many, many more. All right, here's something fun. These are images from the original Space Battleship Yamato presentation book, which was made to promote the series in the summer of 1973. It ran 45 pages, and only 100 copies were made. It came up again in April 2014, when a copy turned up at the Mandarake auction website. The asking price was about $250. And the closing price was just over $24,000. No idea who won it, but I really hope they work for a museum. But there's more. At the same time, Mandarake also listed another presentation package. This was for a series called New Space Battleship Yamato, and it was devised by Yoshinobu Nishizaki in 2004. He worked with a studio called Group TAC to develop it as a series for TV with a follow-up movie. Of course, it never got made, so this package is the only evidence that it ever existed at all. There were two parts to the auction, one for mecha design and one for character design, with a complete description of the story. Both parts were auctioned off separately, and the total of both together was a little over $3,000. This time we do know the winner. That winner is everybody in this room. When the auctions came up, I pulled together some contributions and won it all for Cosmo DNA. And now you can read the entire thing on the website. This is significant for one very big reason. If I've learned one thing about Japanese collectors, it's that they don't like to share. So if one of them had won it, we'd probably never know anything more about it. But now it's online for everybody. Here are some rough character designs, which have another interesting connection to the past. They were drawn by Nobuhiro Okasuko, who did the same work on the original series in 1974. And I can't confirm this, but I'm pretty sure he was the seller in all these auctions. As for the story of New Yamato, I can give it to you very quickly. It starts off a little bit like Be Forever, with an alien invasion on the Earth. And at the time, Yamato is being resurrected out of the Aquarius iceberg. The aliens tow all of the Earth's ships to a point in space to blow them up. Yamato revives at that moment, recovers, and takes out the enemy. But now they have to get back to Earth. The problem is, if they try to warp, they'll be immediately detected and destroyed. So they have to make it all the way back at sub-light speed, which takes 1 year. And I will let you pick up the story from there. It's pretty interesting. All right, back to $21.99. In April of 2014, the first rerun started up on TV in Japan. The network was Tokyo MX, and they did something special to keep our attention. They commissioned a series of 24 paintings for the end titles. The artist is Kiya Asamiya, whom many of us first heard of when he did a manga named Silent Mobius. He's been a Yamato fan for a long time, and he proved it with every one of these. For a while, it was tough to track them down. A few Japanese fans got screenshots and put them up on Twitter, but there was no way to know how many there were. Fortunately, after the Tokyo MX rerun finished, they came up in other places, including an art exhibition that went on tour throughout the year 2014. And I can't get enough of these. They're all gorgeous. When the art exhibition opened in April in Tokyo, it was called the Yamato 40th Anniversary Project. This new model was unveiled for the first time, a 1/100th scale Yamato. That's 3 1/3 meters long, about 11 feet. And the kickoff ceremony had some special guests. From left to right, the voice actor for Yuri Misaki, the voice actor for Captain Okida, and the executive producer Shoji Nishizaki. He's the adopted son of Yoshinobu Nishizaki and is the guy in charge of Yamato now. And this is the first time I know of that he appeared in public. They actually made 2 identical models that made lots of public appearances throughout the year, so you will be seeing more of this. Another thing that happened at this kickoff ceremony was the first real announcement about the movie. Namely, they were making 2 movies. The first one would be a compilation titled A Voyage to Remember, and the completely new movie would be titled Ark of the Stars. And about a month later, we got the first trailer, which I will show you right now. Hang on, gonna get you some volume. It's a bit quiet. The enemy is Atlantis.
Oh no.
宇宙戦艦ヤマト2199星巡る箱舟
All right. That drove us nuts. Atlantis, finally. So that was the teaser. And get you back into this. There we go. So now we will jump back into classic Yamato. This is a different kind of model that was spotted at the Asagaya Tanabata Festival. Asagaya is a suburb of Tokyo, and the festival specializes in papier-mâché decorations. These pictures were taken in August of 2014, and this last one is a throwback to 2011. We definitely had not seen the last of Andromeda. Let's jump sideways for a minute. Everyone who knows Yamato should recognize this face, Captain Harlock. He made yet another comeback in August 2014. It happened in a manga magazine called Champion Red, which sort of specializes in updating stuff from the 70s. The new story is named Dimension Voyage, and it's written by Leiji Matsumoto. The twist is that another artist is drawing Harlock for the first time. His name is Koichi Shimabashi, and he's doing some amazing work. This is the first of 2 volumes that have come out so far. The gimmick is that Harlock is crossing over with the rest of the Leiji-verse, so we get cool things like Tadashi Daiba using a Cosmogun, and Yamato itself shows up, at least in narration. This is an ongoing series, and there is an anime in the works, so we'll be hearing more about it soon enough. Quiz time again. Who recognizes the name Yuki Hijiri? Anyone? All right, he's the manga artist who created Locke the Superman. But before that, he was one of 3 guys who adapted the first Yamato series into manga. His version ran in the pages of Terabyland magazine and was never reprinted because it was another case of Nishizaki not thinking it looked enough like the anime. However, it's all been rescued from history and you can read it at Cosmo DNA. His name comes up here because in August 2014, these original pages reappeared. The rumor is that they were originally sold to a Mandarake store years and years ago. And the really weird part about it is that they turned up on eBay in France. So make of that what you will. The next big thing on the $21.99 front was a pair of books from the character designer Nobuteru Yuki. He did a lot of animation layouts for certain episodes, and this is a huge 2-volume set that collects all of them. Both of the volumes total over 800 pages, and they're nearly 2.5 inches thick. And they're pretty hard to find. They were originally released at a Comic-Con a little over a year ago. So now they're, I think, only available on the secondary market. However, you might find them at Amazon. And now, movie number 1, A Voyage to Remember, came out in October 2014. And a bunch of people showed up on opening day to promote it. Here we have the directors who put the compilation together, a whole new set of Yamato girls, and 2 versions of Starsha, the voice actress and this model who did the first professional Starsha cosplay. With all 7 chapters of $21.99, you could buy the Blu-ray right there at the theater, and the commercial version came out in November. And along with The Voyage to Remember, we got another new trailer.
Yamato, ガトランティス、そしてガミラス。3勢力それぞれのいずれの思いが性質の星に交錯する2199年、ヤマトに迫る最大の危機。宇宙戦艦ヤマト2199星巡る箱舟12月6日公開。
The true ending is here. So, that started the countdown to Arc of the Stars. And the first dedicated book to pop up was this one, titled Yamato 2199 PIA. And if you're wondering what PIA means, it's a company specializing in entertainment publishing. You can get a PIA book on just about anything. And this cover is another painting by Kiya Asamiya, who did those gallery paintings I showed you a few minutes ago. The movie was going to be released on December 6th, and it became the single busiest month in Yamato history. The first big thing to happen was this brand new CD to mark the 40th anniversary. It's titled The Best Track Image Album, and it's got some of the best session artists in Japan covering music from all over the saga. For example, if you ever wondered what it might sound like if the Mormon Tabernacle Choir covered the Comet Empire theme, this is the one you want. This is a chocolate Yamato. It was rolled out at a preview of Arc of the Stars on December 4, and it was designed by a professional chocolatier at 1/500th scale. It was displayed for a week at a theater in Osaka, and then disappeared, probably down somebody's throat. And then came December 6th.
発射準備エネルギーナンバー起動薬室内圧力上昇エネルギー転送跳躍開けはい準備起動発射閉ざされたボイド空間か
ジレルは滅んでしまった種族
俺はやつヤマトをこの手で沈めていくぞ闇だぜクイーンで我が名は雷鳴のゴランだがテロンジーを我が軍門に書いて船を明け渡すべし断る撃てるんですか あいつらは魔女だよ。
魔女。その力を恐れた人々は彼女を魔女と呼んで殺そうとするのよ。テロン人と共存なんてできない。私たちは騙されていたの。そこにいるのはあのヤマトのクルーよ。
お前はヤマテの首が取る。レッソレイン。戦闘体系。
たとえ生まれた星が違っていても俺たちは理解し合える。
さすれば封印とか星に来る母骨長き眠りを目覚める。
我々は一人じゃない。
こういう結末なら納得できるぜ。
ヤマトはこれよりガミラス艦隊と共同で敵に当たりこれを叩く。
Yamato 2199 doesn't end until you see this movie. That was the central promotional campaign. So any questions about that film? You know you can get it now, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Got it, seen it.
You can
Good.
order it from Japan with subtitles. The premiere in Shinjuku had special guests of its own. The 5 Yamato girls, voice actresses for Yuki, Yuria, and the new character Mikage Kiryu. She's on the far right, and her character is standing right behind her in blue. This was an outdoor display just outside Shinjuku Station, which is the busiest train station in the world. That's the 5-meter Yamato model that was built for Yamato Resurrection in 2009. And it still has the Resurrection proportions. All they had to do was repaint the windows to bring it in line with the Yamato 2199 color scheme. And there was this full-page ad in the Yomiuri Shimbun with Yamato burning right through the news. The art exhibition was still going, and when I got to it, there was nobody standing between me and the 1/100th model, so I made sweet, sweet love to it with my camera.
And you didn't take it home?
I went up to the person in charge and said, somebody told me I could have this, but they didn't buy it. There we go. The second coolest thing to come out on movie day was another set of books. Some of you probably remember the famous silver set that came out for the original series. And now there's a $21.99 version of that called The Complete Works. The first 2 volumes came out December 6th, and the second 2 followed in May. And they're all available at amazon.co.jp. You want to write that down? amazon.co.jp. You want them, take my word for it. Something else you're going to want is soundtrack albums. There's one for each of the new movies, and they first appeared on a new format, Blu-ray audio. That was done to preserve the 5.1 surround mix. A Voyage to Remember came out December 2014, and Ark of the Stars followed in February. This one eventually came out on CD as well, but the first one is only available on Blu-ray audio.
And those are playing on a regular Blu-ray player?
Yes. There was one more book to close out 2014. Another one by Nobuteru Yuki, and the title of this one is Yamato 2199 Rough Illustration Book. His previous one was a collection of the animation layouts, but this one is a record of the design evolution for all the characters. In the old days, this would have been part of a Roman album, but now these things get their own dedicated books, which is just fine by me. And that brings us to 2015. This can be remembered as the year 2199 ended, but we didn't have to wait long to find out what was going to come next. The first big event of the year was called Yamato 2199 Concert 2015, performed at the end of February. It was conducted by Akira Miyagawa, who composed all the music based on his father's original compositions. And the gimmick was to relive the whole story with a live performance. So the first half was made up of TV music, and the second half was all from Ark of the Stars. And if you bought tickets at a certain level, you got an exclusive souvenir. This is a CD single for the German folk song played by Captain Okita in the movie. And the sleeve is an exact match for the album jacket that he held in his animated hand. The concert came out on Blu-ray audio and CD in June, and it'll come out on video in a big box set this Christmas. Jumping sideways again, I'm sure everybody here knows about the battleship Musashi. It was built at the same time as Yamato to the same specs, and it was sunk about 6 months earlier. Well, in March of this year, the wreck was discovered by Paul Allen, the co-founder of Microsoft, who announced that he will donate the find to the Japanese government. We assume for the purpose of planetary defense. And then in May, a different kind of American left his own mark on Yamato history. How many of you watch an HBO series called Silicon Valley? None. Well, in the May 3rd episode, we were all knocked out by the last thing we expected to hear from a character named Erlich Bachman. And I have it for you right here on YouTube. Listen carefully.
My fucking Star Blazer VHS tapes in my room. Doesn't take IQ 9 to know they should remain alphabetized. Watch a specific episode. And it's
Start
not-
again.
If I have to, I'm gonna keep my fucking Star Blazer VHS tapes in my room. Doesn't take IQ 9 to know they should remain alphabetized. Watch a specific episode. And it's not like they're on fucking
Everyone get that? Let's hear it one more time.
keep my fucking Star Blazer VHS tapes in my room.
I'm gonna have to keep my Star Blazer VHS tapes in my room.
Doesn't take IQ 9 to know they should remain alphabetized.
Doesn't take an IQ 9 to know they should remain alphabetized.
Watch a specific episode, and it's not like they're on fucking
I want to watch specific episodes, and it's not like they're on DVD. That's worth a round of applause, isn't it? That's how you know a fan wrote that. Nobody else would include an IQ 9 reference. All right, moving on. Back to Japan. Ark of the Stars came out on home video May 27th. Here is the flyer for it. And here's another one of those big, juicy newspaper ads. The movie came out in multiple editions to match your level of fandom. And it had been upgraded quite a bit with retakes that were done after the premiere in December. They didn't extend it, but they cleaned up a lot of scenes the same way Yoshinobu Nishizaki cleaned up Final Yamato back in 1983. This is the CD soundtrack, which came out the same day. And with that, you might think Yamato 2199 was over, and you'd be almost right. There was one more book published in July named Hyper Mechanical Detail Artworks. It was supervised by the mecha director, Masanori Nishi, and it's a collection of the most intricate mecha art from the series, with all the special effects and animation layers removed. So at this point, we can look at all the books on the shelf and say, Roman album? We don't need no stinky Roman album. Here is the last word on Yamato 2199. In August, Ark of the Stars won the Nebula Award for Media Presentation at the 46th Annual Japan SF Convention. Here's the director, Yutaka Izaguchi, accepting the award and bringing it all to a close in the best possible way. So what else has been going on this year besides 2199? Here's a really cool art book called Zero Dimensional Machine Travelogue. It's an archive of collaborations between Leiji Matsumoto and a mecha designer named Katsumi Itabashi, who worked on everything from Yamato 2 all the way to Final Yamato. There's a little of that in this book, and a lot from Galaxy Express, Captain Harlock, and other things we know and love. This is the latest issue of Ship's Log, the Yamato Fan Club magazine. Its cover story is the first interview with Shoji Mishizaki about what's happening next. Namely, they are developing a remake of the Comet Empire series. And they intend to have scripts done by the end of the year. Then they'll get a production committee together. The plan is to launch it late next year and do more Yamato projects afterward. And of course, you can read the whole interview at Cosmo DNA. And speaking of Cosmo DNA, this was the year I finally finished the webcomic titled The Bolog Wars Extended. It's an expansion of Series 3 using material that was written for the show but never made it into anime form. It was co-written by Carol Hutchings, a mutual friend of many of us. And when we started, I thought it was going to take 3 years. Ended up taking 6. So I'm really happy that it's done, and I'm really happy to be doing other things now. And one of those other things is a project I've wanted to do for a long time. A complete translation of the first Yamato novel. It was published while the original series was on the air in 74-75, and it's a very different version of the story. For example, the first 2 chapters take place before the anime, and you can read them on the website right now. Cosmo DNA gets updated on the 15th of every month, so the next 2 will appear October 15th. And I hope you'll all get on board because it's going to be a wild ride. And finally, some things coming up in the near future. In October, we'll get one more entry in the Sound Almanac series. This will be a 3-disc set loaded with odds and ends that didn't get on the previous discs. And if you're a Psycho fan for the music, like me, you just heard the dinner bell go off in your head. In December, we'll get a brand new Blu-ray set with 2 Yamato 2199 concerts, one from 2012 and the newer one from this year. And like the movie, there will be several editions with bonus items like program books and sheet music. What can we do with sheet music? And in January, Mega House will start releasing miniatures from Ark of the Stars, beginning with the Mega Luda, known to us as the, what's the name of it, Walter?
I was called the Magna Flame Gun.
The Magna Flame Gun ship, right. If Series 2 gets the green light, we can probably expect more things like this throughout the next year to keep the fans fed. And if we're lucky, we'll be gorging on that meal when we come back together a year from now. So that's the world of Yamato in 2015. But before we finish, there's a tradition we need to uphold, and that is to say goodbye to some of our friends. Hang on just a second here. Stand up. You know the salute. Thanks everybody. See you next year.